There's one sentence I've had to say to patients that I would give almost anything never to say again. Your kidney function has declined significantly, and the damage that's already been done can't be reversed. I've watched the exact moment those words land. The silence that follows is unlike anything else. It's the moment someone realizes a vital part of their body has been failing quietly for years, without ever sending a warning strong enough to get their attention. What very few of those patients knew while sitting in that chair is that part of what brought them there wasn't hidden in some rare disease they never saw coming. It was sitting in their refrigerator, tucked away in their pantry, or inside the can they opened the night before without giving a second thought. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Each of your kidneys contains roughly 1 million microscopic filters called nephrons. You were born with them. There are no replacements. Once they're gone forever. The truly unsettling part is that you can lose 40, 50, even 60% of those filters before your body gives you a single sign that anything is wrong. No pain, no warning, no obvious symptom. Your kidneys are one of the only major organ systems that can fail almost completely in silence. Your heart complains. Your stomach protests. Your skin often shows you when something is off. Your kidneys simply absorb the damage, adapt, compensate, and keep going until one day they can't anymore. And the foods contributing to that damage weren't designed to feel dangerous. They were designed to feel comforting, familiar, convenient. My name is Dr. Nicole Harper. Before we go any further, I want to be clear. This isn't about fearing food. A single meal won't destroy your kidneys, and an occasional indulgence isn't what causes chronic kidney disease. What matters are the patterns repeated week after week, year after year, often without anyone realizing their patterns at all. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 categories of foods and drinks that can quietly compound kidney damage over time. And I want you to keep one thing in the back of your mind as we go. 2 of these categories are very often consumed by the same person on the same day, yet neither is usually recognized as the actual problem. On their own, they seem completely harmless. I'll reveal that combination when we get there, so stay with me. Before we start, let me tell you about a patient I'll call Marjorie. She was 68 years old, a retired office administrator, and if you had asked her to describe her diet, she would have confidently called it healthy. She cooked most of her meals at home. She rarely ate fast food. She paid attention to what she ate. By her own description, she was careful. And honestly, if I had only heard her summary, I probably would have agreed with her. But when her blood pressure became harder to control despite medication that had worked for years, she was referred for a kidney function evaluation. Her EGFR had fallen more than we would normally expect from aging alone. So we sat down and reviewed her actual week of eating. Not what she thought she ate. Not what she remembered eating. What was truly in her kitchen and on her plate. What we found was very different from the healthy diet she had described just minutes earlier. We'll come back to Marjorie later because the gap between what she believed she was eating and what she was actually eating is the entire reason this video exists. Now, let's begin. 5 categories. None of them will sound particularly dangerous when I name them, and I want you to pay attention to that reaction. That feeling of, surely not this. His is normal, because that exact feeling is the reason these foods have quietly operated beneath the radar in millions of kitchens for decades. Category number 1. The sodium you never added yourself. Sodium isn't the enemy. Your body needs it, and your kidneys rely on it to function properly. The real problem is the enormous amount hidden inside foods that don't even taste particularly salty. Most people assume the salt shaker on the table is the source of excess sodium. In reality, the majority comes from foods that were heavily salted long before they ever reached your kitchen. Bread often contains far more sodium than people realize. Breakfast cereals can hide it behind sweetness. A single can of soup may contain an entire day's worth of sodium in one serving. Some frozen meals contain even more. Processed meats, packaged cheeses, pizza, fast food, crackers, sauces, and bottled dressings all contribute significantly to the total load. And because these foods are so common, many people consume far more sodium than they ever intended, When sodium remains elevated year after year, two things happen. First, your body retains extra water to dilute it. That increased fluid volume raises blood pressure, and high blood pressure is one of the leading causes of chronic kidney disease worldwide. It damages the tiny blood vessels feeding the nephrons and forces those delicate filters to work under pressure they were never designed to handle. The damage accumulates slowly, but it accumulates nonetheless. Second, your kidneys themselves have to work harder every hour of every day to remove that excess sodium. Think of it like forcing a machine to operate overtime indefinitely without maintenance or rest. Eventually, the strain begins to show. If you want one practical step with a high return, focus less on removing your salt shaker and more on reducing heavily processed foods. Read labels carefully and compare sodium content based on realistic serving sizes, not idealized portions. Category number 2. Phosphorus your body struggles to regulate. This is one of the least discussed kidney stressors, yet it's surprisingly important. Naturally occurring phosphorus found in foods like meat, fish, dairy, beans, and nuts is absorbed gradually and regulated effectively by healthy kidneys. But modern food manufacturing introduced a different form entirely. Inorganic phosphate additives are commonly used as preservatives, texture enhancers, and color stabilizers in countless processed products. You'll find them in processed meats, fast food items, baked goods, cheese products, and many soft drinks. Unlike naturally occurring phosphorus, these additives are absorbed almost completely by the body. That means your kidneys are suddenly responsible for filtering a much larger phosphorus load than they evolved to handle. Over many years, this excess may contribute to vascular calcification and place additional stress on already vulnerable kidney tissue. The challenge is that most people never recognize these additives because they're hidden behind technical ingredient names. Sodium phosphate, calcium phosphate, phosphoric acid, sodium tripolyphosphate. In fact, almost any ingredient beginning with the letters phos deserves your attention. This week, take one product you buy regularly and check the ingredient list. That simple habit can teach you more about your phosphate exposure than generic nutrition advice ever will. Now let's move to category 3, because this is where many people become uncomfortable. Category 3 is not about eliminating protein. Protein is essential. Your body needs it. The issue isn't protein itself. The issue is a long-term pattern where large portions of animal protein dominate breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for decades. That's very different from simply eating meat as part of a balanced diet. When you consume large amounts of animal protein, your kidneys must process and eliminate the nitrogen-containing waste produced during metabolism. Blood flow through the kidneys increases, and pressure inside the filtering units rises. Healthy kidneys can adapt to this temporarily. The concern comes when that demand never stops. Decade after decade, especially when combined with high blood pressure or elevated blood sugar, the cumulative workload can contribute to declining kidney function. Processed meats deserve special attention here because they combine multiple kidney stressors into a single product. Bacon, sausage, deli meats, and hot dogs often contain excessive sodium, phosphate additives, and concentrated protein all at once. That's 3 separate burdens delivered in a single serving. Instead of building every meal around meat, think about balance. A portion roughly the size of a deck of cards is often sufficient for most adults. Fill half your plate with vegetables. Reserve 1/4 for whole grains. Let the remaining quarter contain protein. And several times each week, consider replacing meat with beans, lentils, or tofu. Research consistently shows that plant-forward eating patterns are associated with better long-term kidney outcomes across diverse populations. Your kidneys aren't demanding perfection. They're simply asking for variety instead of the same high-protein pattern repeated every day for 30 years. Category 4 is the one almost nobody associates with kidney damage. In fact, there's a good chance it's sitting in your refrigerator right now. Regular soda. A single can often contains the equivalent of 9 or 10 teaspoons of sugar, usually in the form of high fructose corn syrup. Larger servings contain even more. And the effects don't travel through one pathway. They travel through several, amplifying one another over time. First, regular consumption drives sustained elevations in blood sugar, increasing the risk of type 2 diabetes, the leading cause of chronic kidney disease worldwide. Long before symptoms appear, high blood sugar can damage tiny kidney vessels and allow protein to leak into the urine. Second, these drinks contribute directly to obesity and metabolic syndrome, both of which independently increase the risk of kidney disease, even when diabetes isn't present. Third, fructose itself appears to affect the kidneys directly. Research has linked high fructose intake to elevated uric acid levels and injury to small blood vessels, regardless of body weight. Fourth, dark colas often contain phosphoric acid, meaning a daily cola may expose you to both Category 2 and Category 4 simultaneously. In other words, one beverage can quietly deliver multiple forms of kidney stress at the same time. The practical solution is simple. Make water your default beverage instead of your backup plan. If you enjoy carbonation, choose sparkling water. If you want flavor, add lemon, lime, or fresh fruit. Unsweetened tea is another excellent option. And when you're craving something sweet, reach for whole fruit rather than a fruit-flavored beverage pretending to be the same thing. Replacing a daily sugary drink may be the single highest impact change in this entire discussion. Category 5 isn't about a specific beverage. It's about a pattern. Alcohol exists in a category that requires nuance because social drinking and harmful drinking aren't the same thing. A glass of wine shared with friends isn't the issue. The concern is a long-standing pattern of frequent or heavy alcohol consumption that gradually becomes normalized. Many people don't realize how much stress that pattern can place on kidney function over time. Alcohol contributes to dehydration, which directly affects kidney performance. It can raise blood pressure when consumed heavily or chronically. It increases the risk of liver disease, and severe liver disease often places additional strain on the kidneys. It also disrupts the body's electrolyte balance, forcing the kidneys to work harder to restore stability. For all of these reasons, long-term heavy drinking remains a well-established risk factor for chronic kidney disease. Now, let's return to Marjorie. When we examined her actual habits instead of her assumptions, a different picture emerged. She frequently used canned soup as a cooking base. She ate deli ham for lunch almost every day. And she had switched from regular soda to a flavored sparkling beverage she believed was healthier, not realizing it contained nearly the same amount of sugar. Each choice looked harmless on its own. Together, they created a very different story. The canned soup and deli meat delivered categories 1 and 2 simultaneously through hidden sodium and phosphate additives. The sweetened beverage delivered category 4 while disguising itself as a health-conscious choice. None of these foods felt dangerous. None of them raised alarms. Yet repeated week after week, they quietly compounded their effects. That's exactly how kidney damage often develops, not through dramatic mistakes, but through ordinary habits repeated consistently over time. We made a few targeted changes. The canned soup was replaced with homemade stock. Deli ham became an occasional option instead of a daily staple, often replaced with roasted chicken prepared at home. The sweetened beverage was swapped for sparkling water with fresh lemon. 6 months later, her blood pressure had improved without increasing medication, and her egg fur had stabilized rather than continuing its downward trend. The progression had slowed. What Marjorie told me afterward has stayed with me ever since. She said, "Nobody ever asked me what was actually in my week. They just asked if I ate healthy, and I always said yes because I believed I did." That statement captures the entire lesson. Most people aren't making intentionally harmful choices. They're making choices that appear healthy on the surface while hidden ingredients quietly tell a different story. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember these principles. Reduce processed and packaged foods whenever possible. Make water your default beverage. Limit processed meats. Keep animal protein portions reasonable and include plant proteins regularly. Approach alcohol thoughtfully and build alcohol-free days into your routine. Be cautious with frequent over-the-counter pain relievers such as ibuprofen or naproxen. And most importantly, Have your kidney function checked regularly through simple blood and urine testing. This becomes especially important if you have high blood pressure, diabetes, a family history of kidney disease, or you're over the age of 50. Early detection remains one of the most powerful tools we have. I've sat with patients undergoing dialysis and watched how profoundly it changes daily life. Treatment schedules begin to dictate everything. Dietary restrictions become more demanding. Independence gradually erodes. And almost none of those patients ever expected to arrive there. I've also sat with patients whose kidney transplants gave them a second chance, and others whose health conditions prevented them from receiving one. The common thread is that most never saw the decline coming. In their 40s and 50s, they had no idea that ordinary habits repeated around their own kitchen tables were quietly shaping their future. Today, you have information many of them didn't have at that stage of life. You know which categories deserve closer attention. You know which habits carry hidden risks. And you know what questions to ask the next time you sit across from your doctor. Your kidneys have been working for you continuously since before your earliest memory. They've never demanded recognition. They've simply done their job every minute of every day, filtering, balancing, and protecting you without asking for anything in return. The principles we've discussed today aren't flashy. They won't go viral as miracle cures. But that's because real health rarely works that way. Meaningful results usually come from small actions repeated consistently over long periods of time. That's exactly how kidney damage develops. And it's also how kidney health is preserved. The next meal you eat is an opportunity to move in the right direction. Not perfectly, just intentionally. Before you try changing everything, focus on one small action. Take the product you use most often this week, a sauce, soup, dressing, or condiment, and look for just two things. Check the sodium content based on the amount you actually consume. Then scan the ingredient list for anything beginning with FOS. One product, two checks. That's it. Let that single completed action create momentum instead of overwhelming yourself with a complete lifestyle overhaul.